obviously, thank you. I am doing this remotely, so if at any point in time my internet falters or you can't see me or hear me, let me know. We'll make some adjustments. But we are we're here, we're ready to work. We do, we are nimble, we adapt. So here we are. Awesome. Okay, guys. And I think we have a quorum from what I can tell. So at this point in time, I will call the meeting to order. It's 7:05. It's a little late, but bear with us here, and we will get started through the agenda. I think at this point, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. We are recording. We are live. Is there anything you need from us before we begin?
No,
Okay. Thank you again. So, um, do we have any special guests that I am not aware of at this time?
no,
Okay.
no guest enough.
Understood. Thank you. And I appreciate the eyes on the ground there. So with that, we'll jump into business uh, number three, review and approval of our minutes and the agenda. So first, we have the agenda for tonight, June 18th. Um, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll
I
move.
move that we approve it.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second? I
Second.
heard a second. Thank you, Alicia, as well. Any discussion on the agenda before moving to approve? All right. All those in favor of the agenda as it stands, please aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Awesome. Any nays? Hearing none, we'll approve the agenda as it stands. Thank you, everyone. And then for the second part of that, approval of the minutes for Thursday, May 21st, our last meeting. Any, any motions to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Awesome. Seconds.
Second.
Any other discussion on the minutes, changes, edits? If not, all those in favor, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, hearing none, then the ayes have it. Minutes for May 21st are approved. Um, I'm trying to keep pace, but I will probably be a little quicker than the usual rhythm. Stop me if I'm going too fast. This is just me, not you. With that in mind, we'll move into board requests. Any requests from the board for our staff? Don't hear any. I
Yeah.
know it seems we're missing Chris. I know Ron is here, and this will probably bleed into our next line item. But for ad hoc reports, specifically, are there any requests of it for information, for support from our staff, anything of the like?
Not at this time. The ad hoc committee, hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but the ad hoc committee regarding section 6.2, not at this time. We have some,
Okay.
that will come up in old business.
Okay. Actually, we'll go back for a second here. Thank you, Alicia. Laura, just to make sure, I'm working off of a draft of the agenda, so I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Let me bear with me, guys, and let me make sure that we're on the same page here. Okay, yeah, so we are on next is community requests, community reports. So I guess let's move on to that. As it relates to ad hoc reports, Alicia, you just gave us a little bit of an update on what you guys are working on. I know lastly we had some discussion on communications, which will come further down our agenda. But as it relates to um, trial board information. I think Ron, if you're able to speak to that, love to hear what progress, if any, you guys have made with regards to information as it relates to the trial boards, putting that on the PAB site or in some other form or fashion more centralized. Have you guys been able to make any progress on that?
I don't have anything to report. I talked to Chair Walker though, in terms of doing an additional ad hoc. Uh,
Okay.
this is related actually to trying to get in front of some of the circuit and district court judges to get their perspective on policing in Montgomery County. So it's kind of a general right now project. Uh,
Okay.
what I'm going to do is, uh, in fact, I may have an opportunity to talk to a couple of the judges who are coming to my church. Greg and I church, Greg, Greg's church and my church this Sunday, and just kind of feel them out just informally before we set some kind of
You're
either.
talking, Ron, about
Can you hear
sorry,
me?
Ron, just want to make sure that I'm following. You're talking about speaking to judges, these judges about what they feel about policing in terms of what, like their performance policy, like what is it that you're thinking about?
Well, as I said, it's right now it's a general, um, kind of approach. You really want to see um, what's impactful on policing from their point of view, and then drill down on, some of the policy areas.
Okay.
I think certainly, you want to talk to judges who have had a great deal of experience with the criminal docket, you know. And so they would see from the arrest, from, papering in the prosecution's perspective. Um, and then, of course, any bench or jury trial that they hold, um, that would include, testimony from officers or what have you. A lot of times there's, incidents of alleged, you know, escalation, unnecessary escalation. Certainly, we've had wrongful death cases as well involving police. Um, but it's just something I suggested to chair
Okay.
that we get, at least there, as we have these cases coming to the pipeline, and the officers also are typically the primary witnesses, you know. Um, and so we glean stuff from their testimony as well. But again, it's general. I don't know whether or not what they might say would have any input on our data collection, from
Hmm.
the various points that we are covering now. But I do think uh, they would have a perspective overall, if not specific, on how we can improve policing as it relates to not only police but to the public.
Okay. I mean, I think for the most part, right, this is it, it would be a different angle for the same picture that we're trying to assess. So I particularly don't think that is, an issue. I'd like to see a little bit more of where you're thinking this would go, to your point on perspectives, whether that's policing or something more specific. But I do want to just follow up on the ad hoc assignments you and I think Chris were a part of trying to develop a way to bring child board information more centralized to the PAB. I know Chris is not here tonight, so I just would ask Ron if you could coordinate with him on providing an update on that, and if you need, again, resources or if you need help from the staff or generally speaking, a little bit of a change in rhythm, we can assist with that. But I don't want to forget that because that's also something that you
Well,
know, a lot of folks in the community have tried to go to the PAB to get information about the trial, but
right.
it's currently
Well,
spread
George,
out across all the
I,
AA.
I think, Chris and I, talked a couple of times. He sent an email, and I think he had put together something, and I don't know if it was submitted to you or to Bishop, but
Okay,
obviously there's been no discussion about it, and
right.
I don't think he was here the last meeting. But what I will do is absolutely follow up with him,
Please do, yeah.
and so that we can begin to share that information. But he,
Yeah,
with the body, but we did collaborate to some degree, and he did produce a document. I just don't know if it ever came up in committee reports, or obviously the board has. I don't think it's seen what he has put together.
yeah. Thanks for that, Ron. I want to make sure
Yeah,
that we can continue to move those
yeah.
pieces along as
So,
well.
but I
Appreciate it.
will, and but I will also, George, report back on this other ancillary assignment
Hmm.
to talk to these judges and get some idea of what if anything their perspective has.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's good. We had a
yeah,
standing listening group, right, that did a lot
yeah,
of that work for community partners and
uh-huh,
other folks. So I think that following some sort of format alongside that, just to make sure that, you know, we're talking as the PAB, as the board, reaching out
sure,
for the perspectives of different, you know, community members, that's totally fine.
sure. And what I plan to do, George, is just do a paper, just a memo, and see what everybody thinks, and if that's something that we want to do, if we're going in the right
Yeah,
direction, or any other questions the board might have, then, but certainly not without the blessings of the board would I go forward with that.
understood. Thank you,
Okay,
Ron.
thank you.
Okay. Any other ad hoc committee reports? Anything
Yes,
else you want?
Matt.
Well, I guess, well,
Oh, go
George,
ahead, Alicia.
Would you like me to go ahead with our report or just wait for, I think the bishop said that it was old business. And so I had asked that the memorandum that the ad hoc committee drafted be approved this evening. So
It's under other business for approval, so we
we'll
can wait
wait.
until then. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
We got that in there, yeah. Okay. I think I heard so yeah, go ahead. I could see you
Yeah,
had
George,
thank you.
I just want to close the loop on this. So I submitted the draft position description for expanding staff resources and sent it along. This is a couple of weeks ago. And at that time asked if anything else was needed with respect to item 6.1.3. And I didn't believe that there was, but I also want to make sure that that draft PD that is for the data analyst, that's sufficient to answer our needs in that area.
Yeah, thank you. I did see that communication come through, I believe, for both Bishop and I. I had not had a chance to look through it. Apologies. But yeah, I did see that. I just want to make sure if there's anything that you think though that is worth a discussion at this point for brainstorming of the board, happy to do that.
No, I don't need any additional. I think that it speaks for itself. And we already talked about that staff position in earlier meetings. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that the PD is in place.
Yeah, understood. Thanks, Richard. Okay. All right. If there are no other reports, I know, Alicia, we will come to you to that report a little later in the agenda. Um, Other than that, chair's report, we will skip for today. I am sure that Bishop Walker will be able to report on anything else that has been going on at our next meeting. But as far as I understand, there's nothing um, imminently urgent that we would have needed to report for today for this meeting. So if you guys don't have any other questions or anything else regarding ad hoc groups or other similar reports, I'll pass it along to Laura for the staff report. Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna start with the Police Accountability Board, May 2026 complaint report. We received 3 complaints through the portal. 2 were defined as eligible by Montgomery County Department of Police and are under investigation. One was defined as eligible by Rockville City Police Department and is currently under investigation. Through other methods, we received 11. 6 were received by the Montgomery County Department of Police and are eligible and under investigation. 3 were received by the Rockville City Police Department and are eligible and under investigation. 1 was received by Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and is eligible and under investigation. And 1 was defined as eligible by the Montgomery National Capital Police and is currently under investigation. And this is within the state ACC jurisdiction, therefore no additional information can be reviewed on a local level. As for the May Special Legal Counsel, the Administrative Charging Committee spent $12,506.25, with $19,818.75 remaining. The Police Accountability Board spent $4,275, with $5,300 remaining, for a net remainder of $25,119.25. Trial board request. We received 1 trial board request from the Tacoma Park Police Department. This is for ACC case 25044. This will be held on July 14th and 15th. The case name is MPAA-MONT-0126-15921, 15945. This is 3 cases, and 16171. Action items from the May 21st meeting. There was a motion made by the board members to upload the translated 2025 annual report. This was completed on June 11th. We had a second motion to send a letter prepared by the Special Legal Counsel to both the Chief of MCPD, Yamada, and the ACC. This was done on June 5th. Action item. Staff had 2 action items. One was to forward the MPTSC training schedule to the board members. This was done on May 21st. And the second action item was to forward the Rockville City Police Department data, and it was completed on May 22nd. That concludes my report. Dr. Stoddard?
Yeah, as a reminder, we have our Public Safety Committee meeting of the County Council scheduled for July 27th. We will have one more meeting prior to that. So at that time, I'll ask the board who plans to attend on behalf of the board, and we can prepare accordingly. As you may be aware, we actually began interviews for the administrative manager for the Police Accountability Board Administrative Charging Committee last night. Conducted the first 2 interviews of hiring preference candidates, and have 2 more of those interviews for a total of 4 scheduled for Monday. At which point, under county rules, we have to determine whether any of the 4 meet the standards. And if we determine as a panel that they do not, then we can open up to additional candidates. Know, if we determine that they do meet the qualifications and do score within the reasonable range, hiring preference is a hiring preference. So we may know. I would expect by the next meeting that we're reporting about a selection and the process moving along. So I think that's where that is. The only other thing I'll report on is continue to have back and forth with VersaTerm, the company that operates IA Pro and the public portal, both with the police department and for the Police Accountability Board and the Sheriff Charging Committee. I expect that by the time we meet next, that that work has been completed. So that's where things stand.
Okay. Thank you both. I would have considered Dr. Stoddard a special guest. Dr. Stoddard, thank you for coming. Alicia, please go ahead.
Yes, Laura, thank you so much for that report. I think we had asked before. I just was re-asking for clarification. When the complaints come through the portal, are we also we're receiving those in real time, or we getting to get our eyes on them as well? Or I think that there was some question regarding, when complaints come through the portal that the board members would actually see, just to get our eyes on the complaints. Is that the process that's in place?
I'm not sure if you all can see, if you have access to the MoCo PAP email address, emails. If not, then I would have to send them to you.
I was under the impression that we had. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't,
Sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead, please.
I don't see the complaints. Should I be
You have
seeing them?
access to the MoCo PAP
The,
email?
the general email?
Mhm.
I would, I guess, in my Outlook. I will have
Yeah.
to go dig into it then.
Yeah, my understanding on that is that these live somewhere in SharePoint. Laura, am I wrong?
They're not in SharePoint until, I believe, when quarterly, when we transfer things to you quarterly.
Right.
So to my understanding, I thought you all had access to the MoCo PAP general email.
Let me ask, this is mechanics. When a complaint comes in, is there a way that we know that it's come in? Other than to go search?
That's why I'm asking.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah.
The only alternative I see though is we would have to forward all the complaints to individual members, which I think presents some other.
How about notification of complaint?
No,
you know,
not, yeah.
So yeah,
I-
my thought would be to we have information about the reports that we get from the monthly, reports, for example. Those live in SharePoint. Those are secure as well. So my vote would be yes. I think that it would be important for the members of the board to see the complaints because again, those are some of the data that we're asking ACC and other counterparts to provide us in the first place. When residents do not submit complaints via the PAB portal. So in cases when they do, I think, yeah, we should think about a way for us to host that information within SharePoint. And this is outside of the viewers that we have that sort of take the information out into Excel cells. I'm talking about, and I know I'm assuming this is what you're talking about too, Alicia, the full complaint as the resident submits it.
Right. Because I think that there was some question at a prior meetings. And other board members had expressed that we wanted to at least for one know when
Right.
complaints came in and in real time, and to get our eyes on it at least, but not to make any kind of analysis or
Right.
procedure or training or any of that. But yeah.
Right. And it's important to note that we are still held by the same principles of anonymity and confidentiality, right? As these complaints come in, that information can't be shared. So I think, yeah, I think it would be worth thinking about, and Laura or Dr. Stoddard, if you can speak to this too, the technical capabilities, go beyond me in terms of what the county can do and assist with regards to that. But I would assume that we could just host these things, provide a space in our SharePoint secured site for the PAB members to have eyes on that.
I'll take it to our tech team. I don't think it would be a problem. I guess
Right.
would, let me talk to our team.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important, and thank you, Alicia, because again, we have those three different sort of avenues, or at least, complaints coming through us, complaints coming through LEAs, and whether they are forwarding them to us or not. So I think it's an important part of the picture. Let me for real quick, I see Alicia is nodding. I just want to make sure that you guys can see me and hear me okay so far.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you for
Yes,
bearing with me on
yes.
that. One question I had, Laura, and thank you as well, Dr. Stoddard, for the updates. The trial board request for Tacoma Park, that's the 14th and 15th of July. Where is that being held? If you can confirm.
I do not have a location at this time.
Okay, so that's something that we'll want to keep an eye out for then. If we can circle back to that, Laura, when you get a chance, so that we can communicate that or have that as a resource for members of the community that want to attend that. They are public.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And great job with the reading of the name of the case. I mean, that was a mouthful. All right. Thank you, everyone. Dr. Stoddard, one question for you, just to make sure I understood the process for the interviewing process. I think you mentioned that we are interviewing some preferred candidates at the moment. Uh, I believe you said we anticipate having to make a decision on those early next week.
Yes, so the way it works in the county, this is for all positions within the county. Those individuals who have a hiring preference get interviewed first. And you have to decide whether any of the candidates who have a hiring preference meet the qualifications of the position.
Mm-hmm.
If they do meet the qualifications, and there's basically only 4 criteria you can ignore a hiring preference for. The candidate withdraws, the candidate doesn't show for the interview, the candidate doesn't rate highly enough by the panel, meaning like you review their application. And the fourth is essentially their resume doesn't reflect an appropriate level of knowledge. And so we have 4 candidates who meet that criteria. And then, so following those interviews be completed on Monday at 8 p.m., we will meet as a panel. And the panel, for your knowledge, is Miss Hudson, James Hopkins from the ACC, and Bishop Walker and myself. So the 4 of us. The panel will meet after that and review the 4 interviews for the hiring preference candidates and either say one or more of these candidates does meet the standards, rate high enough, etc., or none of them do.
Mm-hmm.
And if none of them do, we would then schedule the interviews for the highest rated candidates who did not have a hiring preference.
Understood. Yes. I remember that kind of cadence was interesting. Do you know, or can you share how many applicants for that role?
That's the first one.
Yeah, so I think we lost you for a second there, but I think you're asking how many total applicants there were. I don't know the total number of applicants. I know there are 30 qualified applicants, meaning that HR has reviewed their resumes and deemed them as qualified. That includes those 4 that had a hiring preference. So there were 26 others that had meet the minimum qualifications for consideration.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
And that was, just so we're clear, this position is open until filled, meaning people can still apply.
Thoughts on the staff?
Yes. And so if there are additional applications that have come in since the last update that I got, which was last Monday, there very likely are. So it could be more than 30. The last update from HR I got was 30.
Okay. Awesome. Any other questions for Dr. Stoddard, Laura, on the staff reports? We are moving along. All right. If nothing else, Laura, any members of the public for any public comments today?
No.
Okay, I believe she said no. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you again. With that in mind, we will move on to other business and the motion to approve the ad hoc memorandum. So, Alicia, I'll give you the floor if you want to provide a little bit of the context and share with us what you had discussed, and we will take that into consideration with the board.
Sure. Okay. I sent an email with the general content of the memo that we're going to include in our memo to the county council. This is basically in response to the county council's request to receive more information, or rather further information, regarding our recommendations made in the 2025 PAB annual report. Let me pull up some notes here. Okay. And so many thanks to Greg for long hours put in, that he did a lot of research to bolster the recommendations that we made in our annual report, specifically section 6.2. And basically, the memo summarizes key gaps identified in Montgomery County's current police accountability practices compared to national best practices, and outlines recommended next steps aligned with MPSTC priorities and national reform trends. And so that's where our research was centered. We wanted to make sure that the recommendations were supported by what is going on nationally in terms of best practices. And we also, I have added in hyperlinks to publications, research, organizations on police accountability, well-known established research organizations such as PERF, such as COPS. You will see all of them listed and described in the memo, the content of the memo, but that's pretty much what it is for. And the key gaps identified are policy compliance, training, bias-free policing, professional conduct, use of force accountability, early intervention and wellness, and handling of complaints. I can go further into detail. Let me pull up here, because I don't know if everybody got a chance to get there on the email that went out. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, the email was sent out over the last few days, and
They
so
might have gotten a chance. Hang on.
if you didn't too, I would also ask Alicia if you can speak a little bit to how
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, say again. You're breaking up. I'm sorry. Hello? Hello? George,
Not your fault.
George, I'm losing you. Trying to.
Let me try
George?
this for a second. How's that?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm just gonna try that for a second. But I was just asking if you could speak, Alicia, like the way in which the report, the memo is laid out is, I think, very helpful because it goes, if for those who have not perhaps seen it, definitely encourage you to take a read through. It breaks out, to Alicia's point, what we do as a county today versus national best practices across a series of areas: stop data, training and professional development, compliance, etc. So I just wanted to ask Alicia if you could speak to, or other members of the ad hoc group, um, how did you look into uh, what Montgomery County did today? Was that information available publicly? Did you reach out to
Yeah.
LEAs? How
Yeah.
did that go about?
No. Greg, you can speak. Greg? He much of the research was done by Greg. I went ahead and aligned the findings of his research and further solidified that by finding the organizations that echoed um, the recommendations that we made, in alignment with Gregory's iterations that he presented.
That's pretty much it. The information was public, but what I did, I went to my buddy Claude and a couple other folks, and they dug into the Montgomery County files and pulled it for me.
Okay, understood. I think it would be best served for us to validate that data in that case. I know that, I mean, I use AI for my job every day, um, but we would need to make sure that that information is in fact accurate.
Yes.
And so definitely, and again, encourage everyone to read through the memo, and if you have questions, go through it. It's very well laid out. My only concern at the moment is just that, is if we can make sure that either via help assisting with their staff, making sure that we can reach out to validate that information directly from LEAs, or otherwise confirm that information that you guys put together for Montgomery County today. Um, I want to make sure that we are as sound on that research as possible.
Right.
Right.
Go
George,
ahead.
Exactly.
George, and
Go ahead, Lisa.
just to repeat,
Yes.
the hyperlinks that I inserted are actual. That is where members may go to those sites and actually see the data that is presented that supports the recommendations that we've made. So I
Right.
have
No, and I
inserted those
understand that.
hyperlinks. Yeah. So they are
Yeah, yeah.
they are substantiated. Yeah, they're supported.
And
Yeah.
that's useful. And I think just to make sure, that's you're talking about the national best practices, right? That what is it that folks are
Yes.
doing else?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I'm only talking about what Montgomery County is doing today. I can see that you've
Oh, I see.
sourced the national best practices when what things need to be or
Yes.
should be at. I
Yes.
just want to make sure that we are again 100% on what is it that our LEAs are doing across these things. So, for example, for policy compliance, when we say limited early warning policy violation tracking, I'd encourage us to explain exactly what that means.
Okay.
In what way is it limited? I know what it is when it is automated, what that looks like. So if that's the distinction that we're trying to make, that's perfectly fine. I just want to make sure that we don't have any automated early warning system flags in Montgomery County, if that's the case.
Okay.
And again, I think you can certainly, I know it takes some bandwidth, and I can see how much hard work has been put into this already, which I think is great. Um, if you think that, more assistance with regards to finding this information is needed, we can talk about what the staff has as a priority and juggle through those, prioritize that. But again, just in the interest of making sure that we are capturing exactly what the county is doing with regards to these issues. And I definitely think it would be very useful for a county council to see exactly where those gaps are. So the format, the additional information with regards to national best practices and the substantiating sources of that, I think it's great. We just need to make sure that it is 100% on both sides.
Okay.
Fair
And
enough.
since Laura is here on the call, um, then perhaps that's something that we can present to her. She's here. Perhaps she can um, reach out to LEAs, in particular Montgomery County, regarding policy compliance, the specific areas that we've
The specific
identified.
areas, exactly. I think that's Laura. I mean, feel free to jump in, but my request would be for the ad hoc group to provide Laura those specific things to look into. And if that's across, every policy area that we have here, it's three, it's 4 or 5. Use of force, bias training, stop data, training and professional development, and policy compliance. So yeah, whatever it is that we can just make Laura's job easy and hone in on the specific, either if that's like a rule or a policy area within an LE, excuse me, an LEA to look through, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Awesome.
Say again, Laura. What did she say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
An item has been recorded and I will do so.
She
Sure.
says yes, she's happy to help. Thank you, Laura. And yeah, I'll defer to you, Greg, Alicia. I know Chuck is unavailable today, but as part of the ad hoc group, sending that information over for Laura for our cross check of that data.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate everyone here on that. Okay. So with that in mind, I think we will I'll let the ad hoc group coordinate with the staff on the timing of that. And of course, myself and Bishop Walker would be available for any assistance on timing if needed. Um, but besides that, I think the motion that we had, the agenda item for today was to approve the ad hoc memorandum. Based on this conversation, would it be fair to say that we would want to um, make a motion to uh, validate the ad hoc memorandum on those specific key areas and then come back to a decision on that? What do you guys think?
Yes, but since it's been some time,
Yeah.
we would like to turn this around sooner than later. Just with that caveat, because it's been a couple of months now, a couple of meetings that we've not moved on this,
Yeah.
and I know that the county council did ask for.
Well, we have that meeting with them on the 27th. So ideally,
Right,
we can
gotcha.
provide that to Dr. Stotter's point. We can make
Terrific.
those changes come together one more time before that meeting and then make the motion to approve it. I know it might not be a lot of time between when we approve and when we send, but
Right.
we'll know that it is accurate information that we can elaborate on with the council, in person, if that works for you.
If I may, I typically the council would prepare their packet about a week in advance of the
Okay.
meeting that they'll have. And so if we have it finished in time, we could submit it and therefore it will be included in the council packet for the meeting on 27th.
So you're suggesting that the starters a week before the 27th, that's the deadline.
So that would be this
Yes.
Monday. That would be the 20th.
No, July 27th.
July, yeah, that would be July.
Oh, July 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and we meet on the 16th. So
I see. Okay.
yeah, I think Dr. Stoddard, if this is what you are referring to, my thought was to have the ad hoc group work with the staff to get to a final draft by no later than Thursday, July 16th, so that we can approve on that meeting and then send no later than the 20th. Does that work? Do you think?
Yes, that would work.
Okay.
Right. And George, just not to put too fine a point on it, but not to redraft anything, but in terms of just checking to make sure, I think that you've stated, check to make sure that the recommendations are what are actually correctly showing that the LEAs are lacking in these
Exactly.
areas. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
George and Alicia, I'm sorry. As an FYI, I will be out of pocket then because I'll only be 2 weeks out of surgery and I will not be doing any upright stuff.
Right.
Okay, that's understandable. Definitely, health comes first. I think if you, like I said, Alicia, and I know Chuck is part of the ad hoc group, the sooner you can provide Laura with those specific targets to look at, I think the sooner Laura can turn that around. So,
Yeah, but George,
yes.
the email that was, Laura, the email that was sent, those are the specific areas. You can see county versus national best practices. Every single one of those boxes, those are the specific areas that we are looking at. And also, you've stated this meeting is recorded. George has also stated what those areas are. So there's nothing different. That is what was in the email, the same content as well as what George has stated.
Yes,
So
I just want to make sure
she can move on that, Laura, as you need.
just want to make sure that you, Alicia, Greg might not be available, or Chuck are available for Laura in case any questions come up, because that's going to be part of the iteration of this to make sure that she is looking into the things that you guys were looking at.
Yeah, Laura, I'm available.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And again, I'm happy to assist on that as well, just in the interest of moving along fairly swiftly, but also accurately, trying to get this information to the council as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're all on the same page, then I will make a motion or ask for a motion for what we've discussed here, which is a motion to validate the information on the memo for the county LEAs to submit to the board on our next meeting for approval. Can I
So
get a motion
moved.
for that? Thank you. Any seconds?
Seconded. Okay.
All right. Any questions? Anything unclear on that or otherwise? If not, all in favor, please raise your
Aye.
hands. Yes.
Aye.
Ayes.
Aye.
Any nays? Excellent. The ayes have it. And I believe that is the last item in our agenda. And I'm sorry I'm off camera, but it seems to be working for my internet, so we'll keep that moving along. I'll bring my Bishop Walker spirit and ask for any alibis, any any last minute uh other business, other pending items. Seems like we're ready to go into the summer.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. With that in mind, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.